Hey guys, it's Grand Admiral Thrawn, and ever since Rise of the Beasts came out, a bunch of people have been ranking the Transformers movies, except they've been forgetting one in their rankings, and I want to include that one in my ranking of all the 9 movies. Now, one of them technically is a movie, okay? Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Transformers Beast Hunters Predacons Rising is an hour and 5 minutes long, and an hour long qualifies as a movie. So, without further ado, you're going to hate this ranking. I'm leaving the comments off. In last place, I have Bumblebee. Now, the thing I hate the most about this movie is it's a reboot, but it did not advertise itself as a reboot. Like in the trailers, nothing is obvious that it's a reboot. Nothing is. Now, reboots can be good, but the thing I hate about this movie is that it didn't act like it was gonna be a reboot. Apart from 2 things, this movie could still be canon to the Bayverse movies. Although it's not an easy change because one of the things would have to retcon the first movie, and the other thing would have to retcon The Last Knight. So it kind of can't be Bayverse, but they didn't hype it up to be that way. Another thing I have an issue with in this movie is that B himself doesn't really have any personality apart from fish out of water on this planet. Like, if you compare Bumblebee to Rise of the Beasts, Bumblebee in Rise of the Beasts is full of character. Like, he's got just personality. In this movie, he doesn't really have any personality because they don't give him the radio clips until like halfway through the movie. And another thing, if it wanted to reboot, how about they do like in the 80s show where Bumblebee could actually speak? Not like how Michael Bay did something creative and decided to make the character not be able to talk. Other shows and other media have adapted that he can't talk, but lately everything, it seems, wants it to be that Bumblebee doesn't have the voice box. So if this movie wanted its own movie of him, why not restore his voice at the end? Also, I don't like how this movie is very similar to The Iron Giant. Now, before you say, hey, that's not fair, it kind of has to be. I would agree with that, except for one scene in this movie that makes me know that this movie is kind of ripping off The Iron Giant. And that scene is the scene where Bumblebee goes to the military base, well, no, when he's escaping that base, and his eyes turn red. And he has all these weapons come out. Now, the thing about that is, that's from the Iron Giant, where the Iron Giant turns red eye and has weapons come out. Now, in Transformers, red eyes means you're a Decepticon. So what does that scene even mean? Is Bumblebee turning into a Decepticon there? Or, like, what is going on in that scene? And that's just what makes it weird, in that they probably don't even know what's going on, so they just wanted it there to make it similar to the Iron Giant. Now, if you like Bumblebee, I have no problem with that. It's just my opinion. I did not like the movie. I'll probably rewatch it, and I will probably like it more than I am in this video. I have only seen it once, but anyway, I will rewatch it again, see if it changes my opinion. It probably will. I don't know why I have an issue with the movie. I do like Charlie's character because her actress, I can't think of it at the moment, and I've seen her in a anyway, I can't think of it at the moment, but I know her Hailee Steinfeld. Okay, so Hailee Steinfeld. I've seen her in other media. She's great in other things. She's great in the movie True Grit. She's great in Hawkeye. She's great in Spider-Verse 1 and 2. So she's a great actress. I like her character in the movie. I just don't like the movie. Now, before I spend this whole video talking about Bumblebee, I want to move on. If you like the movie, good for you. Now, in 8th place, I have Transformers The Last Knight. Now, this movie has a bunch wrong with it, a lot of stuff wrong with it. However, I do enjoy several things in this movie, and they balance out, which is why I put it above Bumblebee. For example, good stuff, the battle between Optimus and Bumblebee at the ocean on that ship, that is amazing. And the scene where B gets his voice back and talks to Optimus, that's great. Okay, I like that battle. There are other great action sequences in this movie. However, this movie also has a bunch of questions that are never answered and a bunch of other bad things going on in it. For example, its story is a bit of a mess. It's not very clear at moments what's going on, and then some things just straight up make zero sense. However, I still think it's a good movie in that it has a few great things about it that kind of balance out. I like Cade Yeager. He's a good protagonist in my mind. So I like this movie for him. I like Bumblebee, Optimus, and a bunch of other characters. And I think this movie does have great stuff. Vivian's okay. Yeah. Hot Rod having the French accent is got its like it's a mixing thing. Like it's kind of funny, but it's kind of irritating and like that. So yeah. This movie does have a lot of bad, but I think it also has some good that is why I put it above Bumblebee. In number 7, I have Transformers the movie. Now, before you yell at me even more than for how made Bumblebee in last, I haven't seen the entire show, okay? I've seen bits of it, but the thing about this movie is you don't need to see the show to watch the movie. The movie is still great on its own, and if you did watch the show, I'm sure it's even better. However, you don't need to see the show to know that the movie is good on its own. It's got a bunch of humor, it's got some good action sequences, especially for the 80s with animation, and a good story. It's mainly the main Autobot is Hot Rod in this movie, and that's pretty cool. And yeah, this movie has a bunch of great stuff going on. The Dinobots are funny, Blur is good, like it's got so much going on for it. And this is one of the only movies where Bumblebee, you basically could forget that he's even in this movie. Because since 2007, he's kind of been pinned as the main Autobot of the whole franchise. However, he's barely in this movie. Like, you can honestly forget that he's even in it, and it makes, like, nothing. Anyway, so Unicron is in this movie as the villain. He does a good job as a villain. And yeah, I think this is a good movie. And you don't need to see the show to watch it. Like some people are saying in their reviews, if I didn't have any attachment to the show, so I don't like the movie, that's not true. You don't need an attachment to the show to watch this movie. Anyway, number 6, I have the newest Transformers film, Rise of the Beasts. Now, unlike Bumblebee, I actually really liked this movie because it acknowledges it's a reboot, okay? Like, it is stated this is a reboot. It doesn't try and be like a soft reboot or anything. It's clear this is a reboot, and all you need to... And you don't even have to watch Bumblebee to watch this movie, honestly. There's one line, and it's that, I know that a human helped you before, Bumblebee. That is literally it. You don't even have to watch Bumblebee to watch this one. Now, this movie I also have issues with. However, there is one thing that I feel carries this movie. Pete Davidson's portrayal of Mirage. Mirage easily is the best part about this movie. Mirage is hilarious and is great as the lead. Like, seriously, Mirage, amazing character. You did a great job. And yeah, the action in this movie is still really, really good. Like, I feel like Bumblebee's a bit weaker in action too. However, this movie has tons of action. And one issue with this movie I have is that it kind of feels like this was supposed to be Transformers 7. And, well, technically it is Transformers 7, but not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, from the Michael Bay movies, this would have been his Transformers 7, and it feels like this should be the Avengers Endgame of the franchise. However, it's only the second movie into the rebooted version, so it's actually, like, It's still a good movie. It's still a very good movie. However, it feels like it's kind of supposed to be the final battle and all that, but we've only just started with this franchise, and honestly, we've only actually gotten attached to one Autobot in this reboot, and that's Bumblebee. And even then, he's barely in this movie. So yeah, that is an issue. RC, they do a great step up with compared to how Bayverse handled her. She's pretty good in the movie. Optimus is pretty good in the movie. The Maximals are pretty good in this movie. This is a pretty good movie. That's all I really have to say. Number 5, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Now, a bunch of people don't actually like this one, and I can see why. The story in this one is a bit complex and all that. Like, Sam and Michaela are trying to revive Optimus, so they're going after the Matrix of Leadership, although they already have the Allspark Shard, so they can just revive him with that, but instead they revive Jetfire so he can tell them about the Matrix, so they can go find the Matrix to go revive Optimus when they could have just revived Optimus with the Allspark Shard. However, this movie is still fun in that it's got comedy from Bumblebee, the twins, other Autobots, and this movie has amazing action sequences. The forest battle, the battle at the beginning in Shanghai, and the battle at the pyramids are all amazing action sequences that this movie has. So this movie does have phenomenal action and all that. Its story may be a bit complex and like convoluted. So yeah, there is that. It introduces several new Autobots, and it does good with, like, for example, Jetfire. He's good. Sideswipe is good. Ironhide was already in the first movie, but he's better in this movie. I don't get why they made him lose his cannons, though. That sucks. All he did was he wanted to show people his cannons. Oh, well. Anyway, yeah, this movie has great add-ons. Unfortunately, RC is not one of the great add-ons. This movie does not do her justice. Anyway, I think I've spoken enough of Revenge of the Fallen. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4, Transformers Prime, Beast Wars, Predacons Rising. Why did they choose that for a title? Why not just Transformers Prime, Predacons Rising? I get Season 3 is called Transformers Prime, Beast Hunters, but they did not need to make it that long of a title for a movie. Anyway, so this is a sequel to the ending of Transformers Prime, where Bumblebee has recently gotten his voice box back. Now, my biggest issue with this movie is this. Transformers Prime, the show, if it had 3 main characters that are like Autobot and Decepticons, they would be Starscream, Optimus, and RC. The issue with that is in this movie, I don't even remember what RC is doing in the movie. Like, seriously, I don't even think, okay, she definitely has lines, but I can't remember anything useful she does in the entirety of this movie. Okay? So, for example, Optimus and Wheeljack are off doing their own thing. This movie kind of splits up the team into groups. Ultra Magnus gets injured at one point, so then he's kind of out of the movie. They bring in Ratchet to fix Ultra Magnus, but then Bumblebee, Bulkhead, Smokescreen, RC, and their group are like all that. Bumblebee is honestly the only one of them who's really important for his group's thing. RC is just kind of there in this movie, which sucks because I honestly believe she's the main Autobot of Transformers Prime, the show. At least because in the pilot, she is definitely the main character. Her and Jack are the main characters of the show. Later on, Optimus becomes one. Starscream was always the main Decepticon. And Starscream is even handled pretty decently. He's not the main villain. That would be Unicron and Megatron which Galvatron, I guess, is the main villain of this. However, it's just, they don't handle RC with any justice in this movie. Now, before I get off of this movie and move on to the next 3, I have one thing to say. This is the only Transformers movie that does justice to Wheeljack. I'm not kidding when I say that. Rise of the Beasts does a horrible job with Wheeljack in that Bumblebee gave us the original design of Wheeljack. He looked awesome. Well, now he's Pablo, this Autobot with an accent for one joke of, oh man, that's kind of racist to assume, bro. And that's it. They had to ruin Wheeljack for a quick joke. And then I've already spoken in previous videos of what they did to Wheeljack in the Bayverse movies. So this is the only movie that does Wheeljack justice, and even then he's kind of sidelined. So the main issue I have with this movie is several Autobots are sidelined in the movie, and not only Autobots, main characters. We could have at least gotten a quick scene of the humans, Jack, Miko, and Raph, like when Ratchet's coming through the ground bridge, space bridge. We could have at least seen them, but no. So that's my biggest issue with this movie. Several characters are sidelined for it. And then the ending is kind of weird too, in that Optimus sacrifices himself, but it's immediately retconned in the spin-off series of Autobots, Robots in Disguise. I mean, Transformers, Robots in Disguise. So anyway, yeah. Number 3, Transformers 2007. Oh my gosh, this movie has amazing CGI that still holds up to this day from 2007. Okay? Seriously, the CGI is amazing in this movie, and it somehow manages to hold up from since 2007 to today, in that it looks better than some of today's CGI. Seriously, they did an amazing job with CGI in this movie. A bunch of people say this is the best Bayverse movie and that it's the only one that they don't ruin, but no. Okay, it's definitely one of the best, but it's not the best, in my opinion at least. The decision to give Bumblebee no voice box was an amazing idea that Michael Bay had, or at least the creators of this movie had, in that it gives him more character and personality, and you can separate him from the other Autobots. Ironhide is great in this movie. Ratchet's pretty good. Jazz is okay, but he's kind of just there to die at the end so that you know that an Autobot can be killed. Optimus, great. Megatron is great. Searching for the Allspark. This movie is great, and there's not really much I can say about it that hasn't already been said. So I think I've said enough about this movie, apart from Sam's good as a protagonist, and yeah, this is just a good movie. Number 2, Transformers: Age of Extinction. This might be the thing on my list that I'm getting the most hate for. Not putting Bumblebee in dead last, not putting Transformers the movie so low, that I'm putting this movie so high is most definitely what I'm going to get so much hate for. I don't hate this movie, unlike everybody else apparently. I actually like it, and I think I know why people hate the movie so much. It's because of the scene that even I can't stand of the Romeo and Juliet law. That scene was definitely stupid and should have been cut from the movie. I am not arguing about that. But I do think this movie is good in that it has great action. I actually like the story of how the Autobots are being hunted by the humans who they've fought so hard to protect. I find Lockdown to be an amazing villain. I think Cade is a pretty good protagonist in this movie, since we no longer have Sam Witwicky. I think Cade is a pretty good protagonist. Tessa and Shane they're fine, I guess. They're there, okay? Other than that, Bumblebee is good in this movie. I think he has the funniest scene in the entire Bayverse in this movie, when he's in the room where they have Stinger. And he does the Walter from the Big Lebowski quote, because Hound is voiced by John Goodman. So that's funny. And just how he knocks down Stinger and then hides and goes on the radio. I told you, homeboy, can't touch this. I think that is the funniest scene in Bayverse right there in this movie. And then the Dinobots are in this movie. And I think they're pretty cool. Although they're barely in the movie. They're kind of just there so you can sell toys for them. However, the few scenes we get of them are pretty cool. And I just think this is a good movie that people hate too much. If you do dislike it, that's fine. I like the movie personally. So, yeah. This is just my opinion of this list. I know I'm getting hate for it already, but I don't know. I don't care. Okay, this is just my opinion of ranking these movies. Now, on to number 1. Transformers Dark of the Moon. I always used to thought it was Dark Side of the Moon, but no, it's just Dark of the Moon. Okay, so the final and the ending to the original trilogy of the Transformers movies. And man, is this a really good ending to those three. Okay, the Battle of Chicago is amazing. The CGI in this movie is phenomenal. The action in this movie steps up from what they had in Revenge of the Fallen to even better. It's the final showdown between the Autobots and the Decepticons. It's great. Sentinel Prime is a pretty good villain. And it's just a great movie full of amazing action and amazing sequences. Like, for example, you have the scene with Optimus in Chernobyl fighting Shockwave. You have the scene of the Autobots versus the Dreads when they're protecting Sentinel. Then you have Sentinel's betrayal where he murders Ironhide, and that is just an amazing scene in that, like, it is sad to see Ironhide go out like that. We've been following Ironhide as one of the main Autobots for all these movies, and he gets killed by being shot in the back trying to protect Sentinel. And not only that, he gets shot with a rust cannon and rusts away, dying in pain. That scene is that scene is great in that it's so sad to see Ironhide go like that. And this movie's just got so much other great stuff going for it. There is only one legitimate issue I have with this movie. At some points, it is very obvious the script was not changed that well from when they got rid of Megan Fox and replaced Michaela with Carly. And it's stated that the creators, like, the script was not altered that much. They already read it. They had, and I'm sure they had their reasons. They probably had a time frame. Except we've been following Sam and Michaela for the first two movies, and then Carly is just kind of plopped in here. And it feels like they just erased Michaela and wrote Carly. And she does a fine job as a substitute, but this movie would have been better if it had Michaela instead. So I do think that is my only issue with this movie. A ton of people have an issue with the ending where Optimus bloodthirstily kills Sentinel and Megatron. Are you not aware that in the last movie, Megatron shot Optimus in the spark and killed him? Okay? I think killing Megatron is justified. Plus, they've invaded Chicago and killed so many people, okay? And he slaughtered Ironhide. So yes, Optimus kills Sentinel and Megatron. Seriously, Optimus is not actually that bloodthirsty. He's not happy when he shoots Sentinel. I mean, he might be happy when he kills Megatron, but that's because Megatron killed him and so many other people. Okay? I've heard things go like, oh yeah, Optimus in Rise of the Beast is so good because he doesn't like killing. He does like killing in Rise of the Beasts, okay? In that movie, his whole motivation is he wants revenge against Scourge, so he's after blood in that movie. This is a movie just people complain about Optimus being bloodthirsty in the Bayverse movies, but they're like, oh no, he's fine in those other two movies. The very beginning of Bumblebee, we see Optimus killing Decepticons. No, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Anyway. But yeah, Dark of the Moon is an amazing movie, and it's a great ending for the trilogy. I don't think it should have ended at Dark of the Moon because I do like Age of Extinction, and I like I like aspects of The Last Knight. I do kind of wish we could have gotten Transformers 7, which would have been Michael Bay's final one, I think. And he would have directed Bumblebee too, except he quit after the last. Well, that or he was fired. I don't know. It's complicated. But anyway, this is my ranking of the Transformers movies. I hope you enjoyed. I know you didn't. And this is Grand Admiral Thrawn signing off.